Mario Party 3!
If you were to ask me my favorite Mario Party in the series, my response would be, do you even have to ask? Mario Party 3 was the exact first Mario Party I played, and since then I was quite attached to it. Even bigger boards, such fascinating new characters, a fully fleshed story mode, and more importantly, the introduction of these two for the roster.
Hi, I'm Daisy!
But all in all, Mario Party 3 was more refined and amazing for its time, and I still have great memories of it today. And of course, I'm in the crowd of Mario Party 3 being the best and such. Mario Party 2 was amazing, I'll still say that now. This just brought much more nostalgia for me growing up and all. So much that I consider it a favorite. So for this video, I'll be counting down the 15 best and favorite minigames here, then take care of the worst in the next video to wrap up this countdown trilogy. The only ones I won't be counting are item minigames, Stardust Battle, or those god-awful rigged Game Guy games. Dual minigames will be permissible this time around. As with Mario Party 2, those were centered around their boards, so those had to be cut from there. For these minigames, I will be represented by Yoshi and Princess Daisy. So enough bullshitting and let's get to the countdown with the best of Mario Party 3. If this doesn't define screwing around, I don't know what does. Silly Screws is a dual minigame where you're both racing to the finish on giant screws, having to spin the screw you're on forward and back depending on where you ought to be going to reach the end. I can't imagine this being done any other way, and there's absolutely no problem with this minigame whatsoever. You just gotta rotate the screw just right in order to get from one to the next. Anytime I come across this game, I welcome it greatly because I see this as a great competitive trial for two players in need of a good duel. Have fun! Anyone remember Mr. Eye? You know, that big giant eye you have to run around in Super Mario 64? Sore Eyes is this in minigame form. Basically, you have to go around Mr. Eye enough times for him to get smaller and smaller till he's gone. And this battle game is that concept done right. The only thing that deducts the game from being ranked any higher is the fact that when you're halfway through running circles around the eye, you'll be greeted with fireballs that try to slow you down. This can be a problem, I'll say that right now, but for me it's not that big a deal unless I run into the fire far too many times. Half the time I end up going beside the fire or avoiding it altogether till the end, and mostly I end up winning the game anyhow, so yep, no harm done on my end. It might be the nostalgia talking, as this was honestly one of the first dual minigames I've come across playing as a kid. Foul play is where you both have to catch the running chicken until time runs out. What enamored me right away is how fluent the character control was, as I can play through this game with almost no problems at all. The chicken can be too fast, which can throw some people off, but for me, as long as I end up catching the thing in the end, it's no major pain on my part. You just gotta determine where the chicken will end up if it ends up running to a corner or whatever, or be just swift enough to catch it within 10 seconds or less. Man, now I find myself craving some chicken. Maybe later. This I'd recommend for the airborne or those in need of a dogfight. Aces High is where you're all in planes and your goal is to shoot each other down till the last person on board wins. I see this as a successor to Shell Shocked, as you're all given 2 lives and have to knock each other out within a minute. If I were to compare the two, I'd say this one's pretty faster, but in the end, all that matters is the quality the game shows and how fun and enjoyable it can be. And for me, this game's efforts paid off in the end. I say it's time to blast some skulls and fly by might. Almost makes me wonder how they come up with this stuff. If you know how Desert Dash works, this game is that in a 1 vs 3 variant. Only difference is that you're all being led by thwomps to the finish, and rather than moving left or right, you have to tap A, B, and Z when commanded. I've been on both sides with this minigame, and much like Desert Dash, it's all on timing your movement. Only here it can be tricky. Tap the wrong button and you're stuck in place for a second till you're back in the game. The solo player has to tap the 3 buttons on his own, while the 3 have to press each button individually. As far as advice goes, just be sure to keep an eye on the buttons you're pressing and be swift enough to outwit the others. All in all, this one's a harmless play and it's done well enough to make this list. I think I've noticed a trend with this game calling flashbacks to Super Mario 64. Must have been that great a game, I guess. Anyway, Tock Hop is where you and another have to jump around the jagged clock hand to avoid getting knocked off. The person to last within that time wins. Sounds familiar? Well, it should. This is another successor to yet another fun Mario Party game. In this case, it's Hot Rope Jump in the mode of a dual minigame. And looking at it right now, I say this was very well executed. As of recently, I've lasted over 10 jumps without scratch, which was incredible on my end. I'd sure like to see myself last much longer though. Yeah, that's for later. Fans of Tetris are sure to get their fill with this game. Mario's Puzzle Party is where you have to score up to 100 points, creating all sorts of matches and color combinations, and the person to gain enough points wins. This one excels in strategy, as you'll be figuring out what colors go where and determine the combos you'll be making in order to rake in the win. There are thwomps that can smush some of the tiles down, which can help you out with getting matching colors if you're in a tight spot. And my advice for this game would be to make sure you're playing swiftly so you don't end up screwing yourself over by having so many tiles on you. Overall, this one will be pleasing many with its fun gameplay and endless possibilities. So yep, go nuts! Wanna go swimming? Just be sure not to get caught in the process. Spotlight Swim is a 1 vs 3 minigame where the solo player has to swim around while the other players have to turn their spotlights all at the single player. The solo player has the option to dive underwater to avoid getting spotted. If they swim long enough while avoiding the lights, the single player wins. If all 3 lights are directed at the solo player, the 3 players win. And 1 light alone isn't going to cut it. The 3 players have to point their spotlight at the solo player all together to win the game. I think this is where teamwork comes into play. This can be tricky for the solo player, but their survival in this game is all determined on chance. There is the possibility that they could be playing against a bunch of idiots in which they'll make it all the way through in one go. However, that's as far as advice goes. Just keep swimming, basically. As far as I can tell, Facelift has always been considered a fan favorite. Picture Imperfect is almost the same thing, with a few minor differences. Here you're given a picture of Mario, Toad, or Wiggler. You have to hit the block at the exact moment to get the picture just right or close enough. Much like Facelift, you'll end up giving the picture some silly faces, albeit this being a bit more permanent. This being said, some mistakes can be the downfall of many, so just be sure to time your jumps with getting the picture how it should be. While there's no Facelift this time around, Picture Imperfect still serves as a good alternative. And that's all that matters to me. This one just makes me hungry after each play, I don't know why. Eats a Pizza is where you gotta scarf down as much pizza as you can within the time limit. The first team to eat down as much, or in some cases, all their pizza wins. This 2 vs 2 minigame will give you the exact same feel as Buried Treasure from Mario Party 1. Only here, you're not digging for any treasure or prizes, you're just eating pizza all the way through. I could go on and on about this game, but as far as the concept and presentation goes, I've basically covered everything here. Just have a blast and enjoy the fun this one has to offer. Cause hey, who doesn't love pizza? Pizza! In the case of the team of 3, this game is just as the name implies. Ridiculous Relay is where the solo player has to soar through the skies while the team of 3 take turns on water. One rows on the Koopa Shell raft, one takes control of whatever the hell this thing is, I don't know, maybe it's a water bug or something, I don't know. And the last one uses a jet ski to get to the end. This can be crazy for the 3 players as they're given the exact roles at random and have to be fast enough to outwit the solo player. On the other hand, the single player alone has bullet bills and Goombas to look out for. This can be somewhat, as the name implies, ridiculous for either team, but hey, it's all on having a fast hand. Advice for the solo player, just watch out for any incoming obstacles, as there will be some instances where the single player wins this one, as in some cases they'll also be playing against people who are too slow with what they're supposed to be doing. What caught my attention with this one is the exact concept itself, and it sure shined enough to be considered well played for this list. Memory games aren't exactly my cup of tea with Mario Party. However, messy memory is one I can actually get behind. You're given an image of the items at the start of the game before a bunch of toads come in to knock some of them down. You gotta remember where the exact item is, and the player with the best points wins. This one served as no problem for me, as I don't have to remember what the exact items are, rather it's where it's placed I have to keep in mind. This can be tricky for some, but when struggling, you just have to be sure to determine where that item is or place it somewhere close enough, if not elsewhere. What's better is that when you're done, you can cover your screen up so no one can cheat off you. All in all, Messy Memory is a personal recommendation, and I think it was a worthy play in my book. I think this is one of the prime examples of how 4-player free-for-alls is the best Mario Party has to offer. In Snowball Summit, you're all pitted in a fight to the death on top of a snowy mountain, and your goal is to knock each other off till the last guy standing is the winner. You go around pressing B to make the snowball, then roll it around to get it bigger or just the right size you want it to be to have a chance with the victory. What's better is that if someone's coming at you with a snowball, you can block it off with your own, should you be making one and having them come at you with one ready to strike. So what the game comes down to, this one serves as a great death battle as well as a self-defense game, and no matter the outcome, it's anybody's game. This is one snowball fight you'll be wanting to experience over and over again. I can't believe it took them 3 games to get to Mario's basic gimmick, giant mushrooms. Toadstool Titan is where you're all bashing blocks until someone finds the mushroom. As the mushroom takes effect, you grow in size and can knock the other players off till the winner remains on top. The mushroom block is determined at random, so you gotta figure out which block has what you're looking for. And be quick about it, cause if the other player takes it, it's lights out for you. The only downer is that as Giant, you can only move in one direction and aren't able to move at free will. So this can throw some people off and they're just bumping all over the walls, but word to the wise is just to catch the players going at a certain place, then charge at will. In the end, I can honestly say this is a very solid game and a fun experience for everyone involved. Excitement awaits! My number 1 favorite of Mario Party 3, and this time it's not a 2 vs 2 minigame. Water World is a racing game done right, and is addictingly fun for a short 4-player game. You all go around in little jet skis in circles for 5 laps across this adorable little water course. You accelerate at a solid speed, and while this may be a turnoff for some, you have to make an exact sharp turn to go around the course. Personally, I'll take this over Slot Car Derby any day. The fact that this is an almost flawless game to get behind, aside from my love for racing, is why I find myself attached to this minigame with each play. My only wish is that we'd have more courses to drive around, then there'd really be some more fun to have here. But at the end, Water World is a simple, enjoyable experience for all, and I'm glad to see it here on this number 1 spot as my personal best of Mario Party 3. And there you have it, all the minigames that I favor the most in Mario Party 3. However, I'd be lying if I said there weren't minigames that I've had a distaste for, but we'll get to that next time. See you then!